Welcome to Success Matters. In this episode, we talk about the sensitive subject of suicide. Today, we delve into Mike Jennings' inspiring story and the incredible impact of the Hike with Mike Foundation. Mike's journey began when he lost two close friends to suicide. The tragic loss left him both with a profound sense of grief and helplessness. But it was also a wake-up call that compelled him to take action. He realized that there was a dire need for more support, resources, and awareness surrounding mental health and suicide prevention. And whilst going for one of his daily walks during the COVID lockdown, he recognized the power that walking and being outside in nature can make to your mental health. With the determination to do something to help, Mike decided to leverage his love for the great outdoors as a tool for change. He embarked on a mission to get people hiking and heal themselves, and also to raise funds for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Thus, the Hike with Mike Foundation was born. Mike's journey from grief to action is a testament of the power of one individual's determination to make a positive change in the world. Through the Hike with Mike Foundation, he has not only raised funds for suicide prevention, but also ignited conversations about mental health, shattering the stigma that often surrounds it. So Mike, thank you very much for joining Success Matters. You're the founder of the Hike with Mike Foundation. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, please, and what it was that led you to create this foundation?
Yeah, sure. So I'll rewind the clock a little bit to around COVID time when I lost two really close friends to suicide. Right. And during lockdown myself, on a personal note, I'd been struggling quite a lot. A lot of my kind of freedoms had been taken away, just as it had for people around the world. And, the death of my friends kind of made me reassess things. I kind of always knew that I wanted to do something, but I wasn't quite sure what. So I spent kind of a lot of time researching into mental illness and suicide and some of the triggers and causes. And I was absolutely kind of appalled to find out that my friends had been waiting for help for quite some time, months in fact, that simply didn't have that long to wait. They were trying to get therapy, they were trying to get counselling through the NHS. And sadly, the waiting lists were, at the time, around about 4 or 5 months. At the moment, we're around 7 months. Mm-hmm. So if you were in a bad place, feeling suicidal, you were brave enough to ask for help, then more often than not, you were told that you'd got to wait a number of months to get that help. And my friends, just as many other people who are in a similar situation, sadly didn't have that long to wait and took their own life whilst kind of waiting for that help. And so that kind of triggered something inside my mind that surely there's a better way that we can do things here. And then Boris, during lockdown, announced that we were allowed to go on a walk a day. And I turned into a bit of a walking Forrest Gump, to be perfectly honest. I kind of walked and walked and walked. And actually, slowly, as I was kind of walking, I found it a really good space to kind of clarify some of the thoughts in my head and my way of thinking. And slowly, I started to feel a lot better in myself. And I started to kind of talking to my friends about it, and slowly they started joining me. And then I think we were allowed 6 people, so there's 6 of us walking, and those walks then turned into hikes. Mm-hmm. Everyone afterwards was like, "Oh, this is great. I feel so much better. I've been a high all day, and getting those things off my chest that when we talk about was absolutely brilliant." And then I kind of thought, well, we can perhaps make something out of this. Being outside is scientifically proven to be great for your mental health. It boosts your endorphins. It gives you clarity of mind, not only, for the duration of it, but afterwards as well. And so I figured, let's invite a few more people along. Let's advertise this and kind of get a group hike organised. So I did it, and only me and my friend turned up. Right. And I was thinking, okay, this is a little bit awkward here. So it was almost called Hike with Mike and Gary. That was
How many were you expecting to turn up to start?
We were hoping for a few more. We didn't really have a number in mind. Okay, more than just me and my friends. But then slowly, we persevered, and those 2 turned into 6, and those 6 turned into 20, and those 20 kind of went up, and now we're actually kind of attracting anywhere between 60 and 80 people on our monthly hikes.
Right.
So we do these hikes monthly for free in the Peak District. We get loads of people come up for the first time. We get some people come in on their own. Perhaps they've just gone for a breakup or are new to the area. Perhaps they just love being outdoors. And we've created like a really, really great community where we do these monthly hikes. And then a couple of times a year, we do kind of bigger challenges. We did the Yorkshire Free Peaks a couple of times, the Welsh 3000s. And then when we do these, we encourage people who participate to get sponsorship. And all the money raised through the sponsorship, then goes into a pot. And anybody who is battling with their mental health, who might be on an NHS waiting list, who's really struggling, can come to us and we will link in with them. We'll talk them through what we can do. And in 99% of cases, we're able to approve funding and get them 6 counselling sessions within 24 hours. Now, this is kind of exploded, if you like. You know, when I initially kind of started it up, I thought our main income stream would be through the sponsored hikes. We now sell merchandise. We now have people who are running marathons for us. We've even got one crazy guy, I'll give him a shout out, Michael Ford, who's actually running the whole length of the country from John O'Groats to Land's End.
Oh, wow.
Via the National Three Peaks to raise funds for us. We've got someone else who's swimming the English Channel. And so a lot of our income now comes from people who are really bought into our cause and are actually supporting us through their own initiatives as well, which is something which we never anticipated.
That's an amazing outcome from something that you started, we were in lockdown 3 years ago, so in a very short space of time. I'd just like to step back a little bit. When your 2 friends committed suicide, did you have any warning? Were there any signs that they were potentially going to take their own lives?
No, it's a really, really interesting question. And at the time, I truly believed there were no signs. And now the more I kind of understand about mental illness and mental health and mental well-being, is that a smile can be the biggest fraud in the world, because as soon as someone smiles, they look happy, they look okay, they seem fine. And often, there's an association that if someone's unhappy or someone's depressed or battling a mental illness, they're crying, they're sad, whatever it might be. But a smile in front of people can often change that. Though, my interpretation then was that, no, absolutely, everything was fine, they were okay. But what I often beat myself up about is that, we spoke about the football, we spoke about going out drinking, we spoke about various TV shows, whatever it might be, the Xbox. I never really asked them actually, how are you?
Yeah.
You feeling okay? You seem a bit withdrawn lately. And, one of the key takeaways that I often say to people and that, I really, really try to drum forward is that just because someone looks okay and seems okay, it doesn't mean they are okay. And we as men especially can be really bad at talking sometimes, but sometimes, just asking that conversation and kind of getting into that next level of detail, it can honestly help save a life. And it's something which I've kind of got to live with for the rest of my life. And I accept that I can't change that for my 2 friends, but I can absolutely help change it for my existing friendship group and people moving forwards.
The smile is often a mask, isn't it, to things that are happening behind their eyes, if you like, or behind the scenes. It must have been quite a shock for you at the time that happened. How did you grieve for them? How did you kind of get over that and then find that, I suppose, drive or gumption to say, this is what I'm going to do to help them, help honor them and help others that are going through a similar situation?
In terms of the grieving, it wasn't initially that the grief kind of hit me, if you like, because I think sometimes with suicide, it can feel so sudden.
Right.
If somebody is, got a terminal prognosis from an illness, it can sometimes be, months, weeks, years, and you can slowly kind of almost come to terms with something and kind of go on that journey. And so when the death does happen, it's still absolutely devastating, but you've almost been preparing yourself for it. Right. With these, it was very much a big sense of shock, because I was kind of looking at my phone and there'd only been, text messages about organising a night out or organising going to the football that we'd been sending actually just a couple of days earlier. And so it didn't feel real. And it probably wasn't until, some weeks or months after when it really did hit, especially at the funerals, when you kind of seeing, your friends being buried with their family around and the impact it's had on them, that it kind of really hit home. And then in terms of when did it kind of ignite a fire in myself? That fire had been simmering for quite a few years beforehand, because I lost my brother to something similar. But it wasn't directly suicide. My brother had been in the army. Growing up, he'd kind of been my hero, my bodyguard, my wingman, my kind of best friend.
Right.
And he joined the army, and I kind of always used to look up to him as macho big brother. And he left the army and really struggled to adapt back to civilian life. He really struggled to get back into a routine when his kind of routine had been mapped out.
Yes.
For him in the military. His relationship broke down. He struggled for work. He turned to addiction. Basically, he got addicted to substances. And although he didn't take his own life, his lifestyle then led to him ultimately getting incredibly ill, and that kind of cost him his life. And at the time, I probably wasn't as mature as I was now, and I kind of just wanted to shake him and say, "Why? Just stop doing what you're doing, please. Just stop." And we tried that, but deep down, I didn't appreciate that. He wasn't addicted; he was mentally ill, and that mental illness led to that addiction to escape that pain he was feeling in his day-to-day life.
Right.
And ultimately, that led to his downfall. And again, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but he clearly needed help, and he wasn't getting that help. And, again, as I kind of grew up and matured and understood, I knew I had to do something, but at that point, I just wasn't quite sure what. And then when the hiking came into it after lockdown, that's when I realized actually I can combine what I love with helping people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story of your brother as well there. I wasn't aware of that. And so that was where the kind of fire to start something came in. And then I suppose the event that really brought it together was when your friends committed suicide, and you got this combination with the hiking and walking. And I think you're so right about getting out in nature and being involved in nature is so good for your mental health. Appreciating what's around you. How do your hikes work? What's do you have like a monthly sponsored hike? If someone wanted to come and join you, would they have to get some sponsorship? How does that work?
No, so our monthly hikes are purely well-being hikes. So we do them entirely free of charge. We advertise them on social media and also on our website. We aim for typically the last Sunday of each month, so kind of people have an idea of when to block out the diary. We get a lot of people saying, "Oh no, when I'm going to be away on holiday for this one, can we do it the week before?" I'm like, "No, so many people you kind of want to come on them now, but we kind of have to." Be relatively regimented. So, typically speaking, we advertise them on social media, on our website. People drop us an email or direct message to sign up. We kind of just organise a meeting point, like I say, entirely free of charge. We just want people to get out and about, meet new people, enjoy the benefits of being outside, and help build a community. Because I know firsthand how important it is to be part of a community. We have, people messaging us saying, it's the highlight of their month. They look forward to it. Seeing kind of friendships built for life and kind of people, kind of creating social activities outside of hikes, etc., is brilliant as well, because I know the backstory to a lot of these people. I know that, someone's just moved to the area and doesn't have any friends. And then to see that they've now, got some new friends through the hikes who they go rock climbing with, or they, go out for dinner with is brilliant. I know somebody, and a lot of people on the hikes don't know this because obviously, a lot of it is confidential, so I won't name names. But, I know somebody who suffered with terrible anxiety around being in crowds. And then I see them at the end of a hike surrounded by 70 people, laughing and drinking and joking and having a great time. I know people who are, who attempted suicide and, have been at the lowest depths of despair, but then through the hiking and through the community we've created, they've got a new purpose in life, and now they're training towards the Yorkshire Free Peaks that we're doing next year.
Right.
And so seeing these kind of little backstories and knowing these backstories in my mind and kind of seeing it all come together is a real great sense of satisfaction. And the plus side is being able to help people on the back of that as well.
I mean, the hikes themselves are open to anyone, right? You don't necessarily need to be suffering from a mental situation or illness or so.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. So the hikes themselves are open to absolutely anybody. And, I think some people kind of wonder, what are we going to be like when you kind of turn up? Is it just going to be talking about mental illness the whole time?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's generally just a group of, individuals who then become friends, having laughs and jokes. I start off each hike with a terrible joke, which normally gets heckled. We kind of go around the route, and then we always finish up in a pub beer garden where we, where we have a drink or some food, and then, go our separate ways. It used to be tradition, I must say, at the start of the charity, I used to go and buy everyone a drink at the end of a hike, which was great when there was just 2 of us or 6 of us.
Yeah.
Less so when there's 70 or 80 people.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a separate beer fund for that. That's
Absolutely. And that does come out of my own pocket, not with charity.
Yes.
Promise you that.
Yeah, and you do state on your charity that 100% of on your website, the 100% of what you raise goes towards supporting others, right? None is taken.
Absolutely. So what kind of bugs me a little bit, if I'm honest, is that a lot of the, particularly the bigger charities, and understandably so, for every pound that you donate, perhaps only 60 or 70p might actually go towards supporting the cause. The rest goes on running costs or salaries, whatever it might be. I'm lucky enough to have an incredible team around me, but all work on a voluntary basis as well, giving up their own time on top of full-time jobs. But none of us take a penny out of it. So every penny that we get goes towards helping people directly. Any kind of overhead, such as the website, domain, so on and so forth, I absorb myself. So
Okay.
we're really, really passionate about that. And we're really keen to make sure that, when someone does donate, they've got good faith that money goes to the right people in the right place at the right time.
And so these, how many sessions have you been able to organise for people who are suffering mental health illnesses?
Sorry, Sanjay.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just move? I think.
Oh, sure. You've suddenly gone, very bright.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's better, isn't it?
that's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question was, how many sessions have you been able to arrange and organise for people who are suffering from these mental challenges?
Yeah, so we've been able to fund over 500 sessions. Typically speaking, we fund an initial 6 sessions for each individual, and if needs be, that can then be extended. But last count was just over 500 sessions, which is incredible when you think about it, because in most cases, a lot of these individuals have started their counselling, gone through the counselling, are in a far better place. Probably 4 months before they'd have even had the first session, had they gone through the conventional channels.
So if someone wanted to get a referral, how would they contact you? What would they do?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways at the moment, but we're looking to kind of expand that in the future. So first one is through our website, www.HikeWithMike Foundation.com. You can visit our website, and there's a request help tab there. That inbox is manned daily. The other one is through our Instagram page, where you can drop us a direct message, and we can pick up that typically within 2 hours and get the ball rolling straight away.
Right.
What's actually really interesting is that about 75% of our referrals come from family and friends saying they're worried about someone.
Okay.
And, to me, this is absolute music to my ears, because it shows that some of those conversations that we're so passionate about are actually happening, that people are looking out for people and recognizing that actually, my friend's been really, really quiet lately, and we had that conversation, and he opened up that he's really struggling at the moment. He's having some dark thoughts. I'm really worried about him. Can you guys, get in touch, or can I pass on your number? And then that prompts that situation. Whereas in the past, perhaps those conversations were happening, but to a lesser extent.
You help both men and women, right? It's not aimed at men, because there was a male suicide statistic that as many men and women attempt suicide, but men seem to be a bit more finalistic in the way in which they do it, and therefore, the stats may be skewed in terms of the deaths that result from it versus the numbers that actually attempt it.
Yeah. So mental health is very indiscriminatory. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. It can impact everybody. I think what I found absolutely terrifying, as I was doing my research, is that suicide is the biggest killer of men aged under 45. Yeah. And, I remember kind of having a bit of an epiphany moment. I was kind of brushing my teeth one morning. I looked in the mirror and I thought, this is crazy. The biggest threat to me right now isn't cancer. It's not COVID. It's not a car accident. The biggest threat to me is that person looking back at me right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's, another reason why I'm so passionate about mental well-being. But a lot of stuff, we can't control in our lives. If you were to be driving down the motorway and somebody was to, be coming in the wrong direction, you can't necessarily control that circumstance. You can maybe respond to it by trying to swerve out the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes in various illnesses, it can be down to a genetics call or it can be down to lifestyle, but a lot of the time it's kind of the bad luck of a draw.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that can be the same with mental well-being as well. Only I do truly believe that in some respects of mental well-being, mental illness, you can control it through your diet, through your exercise, through talking. But the challenge is that we're never taught how to do that.
Yeah.
And, one of the things which, I talk about quite a lot when I go into different businesses and schools and universities, etc., is, ask everybody to put their hand up if they learned Shakespeare at school. Most people stick their hand up. And then ask people to stick their hand up if they learned Latin at school. And not many people stick their hand up, but quite a few do. I'm not even who went to public school. And then ask people how many of you learned about how to manage your emotions, how to deal with difficult situations, how to, practice mindfulness when you're feeling stressed, how to, reflect on a challenging scenario and how do you kind of find your inner peace. And not a single person stuck their hand up.
Mm.
And therein lies the problem. That our education system is so focused on, various kind of elements of the curriculum that sometimes we lose sight of what matters the most. And what matters the most is how you feel in your head and in your heart. In your head and in your heart.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the challenge is that a lot of this is seen as being a little bit kind of out there, new age maybe. I don't know what the right term is, but hippie. And therefore people often reject it, but actually it's so important to think about mindfulness as an example, or meditation, or these other things that can help you with when you're feeling that pressure or that stress and don't know where to turn in life.
No, absolutely. And, it's not the first time I've heard that. And, my typical response to that is, you got toothache and it's kind of the worst toothache you'd had in a long time. What would you do? You'd go to a dentist.
Yeah.
If you were playing football and you went into a tackle and you heard a big snap, what would you do? You'd probably go for an X-ray with, the doctors or a hospital. If you fell over and broke your wrist, what would you do? You wouldn't just walk around pretending it's okay. You'd go and get it treated.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, when it comes to the brain, people are so reluctant to do so, or were so reluctant to do so. And I use it in the past tense because I do generally think we are making progress. But it's clear there's still such a long way to go.
And you did also say something there, a couple of things. As men, we tend not to be so open about these conversations. And then the connection between the head and the heart and the gut as well are so important in terms of as you say, your mental health can be improved through diet, but also your gut could be telling you one thing, your brain is overriding you, and your heart is saying something else. What do you do?
It's a great question, and I wish I had the answer to
it. It's more of a rhetorical question, that one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a brilliant book, and I'd recommend anyone to read it, called the Kim Paradox. And I'm not sure if you've read it or heard of it, but it's quite an interesting study into the human brain. It's kind of compartmentalized into two fundamental parts: the logical part, which is, when you're kind of BAU, if you like, thinking logically, performing well, clarity of thinking. But there's also a chimp, and the chimp brain has the ability to become 10 times more powerful than the logical brain if you feed it. So it could be overthinking into a situation. It could be, allowing it to kind of give you that red haze of anger when you're stuck in traffic and you start getting road rage. It could be when someone says something that really annoys you, instead of just letting it go, it's the one that goes, no, say something back. And the book is fascinating because it's a way about trying to find equilibrium between your logical brain and your chimp brain, and acknowledging when it's your chimp brain talking, and acknowledging that it's not necessarily the most productive state to be in.
I must say, I've heard of the book, but I've not read it. So that's one that I'll add to my reading list over the next few weeks. As you know, Mike, this podcast series is called Success Matters. So what does success mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like?
I'm going to be very candid when I answer this, because my definition of success has probably changed somewhat over time.
Okay.
If you'd have asked me the same question maybe 3-5 years ago, probably 5 years ago, I'd have said it's about having, the nicest car, the best clothes, and the biggest house. To all intents and purposes, I do still like my nice cars and my nice clothes, but that doesn't, to me, define success. My one sole measure of success now is that when I'm no longer on this planet, I want to leave the world a better place than it was when I joined it. Now, I appreciate that's the measure of success, but I might never get to see myself. But I want there to be a legacy where the stigmas around mental health are gone, where we talk about how we feel just as much as we do about the football, the weather, where we're going on holiday. And I want to make sure that as a human race, we're here to support each other. You know, it's a tough world out there sometimes. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of, ambiguity in this world. But we're all in it together. We're all on this planet. We all came on the same way and sure as hell going out of it the same way. So let's make a real effort to be, kind, to be good to each other and to support each other, because all of us need support sometimes.
On that point, where next for the foundation then? What's the kind of next things that you're looking to expand and do?
I got asked this question about 3 months ago, and I gave a really honest answer that my honest aim for the foundation is that one day we don't have to exist.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that people don't have to wait to get the help they need through the NHS, but they can get it as soon as they need it. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. So in a roundabout way to answer that question, I'm very mindful. We are not, we don't have aspirations to become a world blowing, huge multi-million pound organization.
Right.
We want to stay small enough to care, but big enough to make a difference.
Okay.
We do want to increase our education side. So we're very much in the preventative space at the moment where, somebody comes and they're perhaps at the stage where they need therapy urgently and we access and we give them that therapy urgently. But I think it's a lot more powerful as well if we can work on the education side. So what coping tools can we give people? How can we make sure that actually people don't come to us when we're in crisis, but they kind of read our material, they work with us, they come to our hikes to actually stop ever getting to that place where they do question their own existence.
Right.
Feel we're getting close to a breakdown. So, in the short term, we'll absolutely carry on with the preventative stuff. And I feel that will be part of the long term as well. But we do want to focus a lot more on the education side to kind of get to that root cause a little bit. And, we really want to work closely with other organisations, charities, the government to make sure that those in need have the access to help. Yeah. But actually, we go right back to the beginning in most formative years of life to make sure that children on the curriculum learn ways that they can, deal with anger management. They can learn to deal with stress. Because people are leaving school, college, university and entering the real world and actually realising that the bubble they've been in for the first 18, 21 years of their life can be very different to what the real world is like. We want to make sure that people have got those tools to deal with it.
Yeah, so prevention is better than cure, right, in many ways, and starting them early. This ties in quite well with the question that my previous guest had asked me to ask you. And that question was,
if you could change anything that you think is going to happen in the future, what would that thing be?
Wow. So if I could answer that question, and it's a great question, probably not one I've thought of an awful lot, but I think kind of going back to the point around the foundation, we primarily exist because of failure within our kind of conventional systems, i.e. people don't learn how to handle mental health, well-being throughout their formative years. People then kind of have a breakdown before they tend to kind of get help that they need. So I'm going to say I'd remove our foundation from the future in the hope that actually the government, the education system can kind of play that leading part in making sure that children, as they grow up, are given the right tools. And ultimately that when they do, come out of education to what I call the real world, we're really equipped well to do so.
Right. Yeah, that's very strong. It's if we can solve that problem now, then it won't occur in the future. And so you're changing that future by solving for it now, which is, that makes logical sense to me in my mind. One I just repeated probably doesn't, but that's great. Thank you. Do you have a question for my next guest?
Certainly. Am I able to know who the next guest is, or is it a...
It's a surprise to my next guest. It's a surprise to me as well, actually. Sometimes my next guest is going to be...
So my question to your next guest is, what has been the single biggest lesson you've learned in life? And with hindsight, how would you handle it differently?
And what's your answer to that question?
Oh, I never realised that. My single biggest lesson I've learned in life is that it is good to talk.
Right.
The first 30 years of my life, probably 32, 33 years of my life, I used to bottle things up, and I used to suppress kind of feelings, suppress emotion. And it's not a healthy thing to do. It really isn't. It comes out in unconstructive ways, and it can lead to toxic behaviors and toxic traits.
Right.
So my single biggest lesson is don't bottle things up. Talk to your friends, to your family, to your loved ones, or to a therapist, because nobody's there to judge you. People are there to support you. And ultimately, you can be a lot happier, have a lot more clarity in your mind, and be at peace with the world if you share your challenges, your problems, and realise actually you're not the only one battling them.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. So what's next for the foundation? You've got the Three Peaks, Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge coming up in April. Is that right?
Yes. So we've got the Yorkshire Three Peaks coming up. So we've got our monthly hikes kind of leading up to that. We just did a doggy walk one on Sunday, which was a great success.
Okay.
A bit more accessible for people who aren't keen on the big hikes, but still want to be part of the community.
Yeah.
So we'll probably try getting a couple more of those in before April. We'll carry on with our monthly hikes. We've got the Yorkshire Three Peaks, which we're actually now going to be doing as a world record attempt.
Okay.
That world record attempt will be the most people hiking the Yorkshire Three Peaks over the longest distance in fancy dress. So we have no marketing budget, so we rely on little gimmicks and doing things a little bit differently to help raise our profile, get people around, and raise some great money for the foundation so that we can help others.
Right.
Beyond that, we're looking at other challenges as well. So we typically do 2 or 3 big challenges a year. We're going to be looking at doing the Lake District 10 in 10 and a crack at the Welsh 3000s. And then let's talk about some international hikes in the future as well. Still very early days, but we've got a lot of people kind of saying, it'd be great if we could go abroad and do this.
Yeah.
So never say never. We've partnered up with some brilliant brands already. So, we've had some fantastic support from the North Face, the company I work for, Fleetcore, previously Experian. We've worked with Rolls-Royce, Swimsy, and we'd love to work with more brands because it's such an important message to get out there. We're only a very, very small fish in a very, very big pond. But we want to make a big splash. And the way to make that splash is to work with great partnerships of like-minded brands, like-minded people to help us push forward this cause.
Have you chosen your fancy dress costume for your Three Peaks?
So I have got a stag do chest, which I tend to raid every time I've got a friend's stag do. And I think there's a Captain America and a Top Gun in there.
Okay.
I seem to remember there being various parts of each costume missing. So it might be a Captain America reincarnated as Top Gun. I'm not sure.
Yeah, a hybrid character.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we're at the top of our time now, Mike. So thank you very much for this being a fascinating conversation. I certainly will get involved in some of these hikes because hiking is something that I really enjoy. And like you, I kind of rediscovered being out during the lockdown period, and it did wonders for me, for my mental health as well. So thank you once again, and I'm sure on behalf of everyone who's listening, and thank you for all the work you're doing to help prevent people from getting to that point where they feel that there's nothing more for them in this world.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
And thank you. If you'd like to find out more about how you can find your success, contact me at info@successmatterscoaching.com. That's info@successmatterscoaching.com.